Okay, so last day we looked at writing percents as fractions in the lowest term. And basically yesterday or last day, I showed you a button on a calculator that will do that for you. And actually, I was teaching my other class this morning at around like 8 in the morning, and I was showing you guys my calculator yesterday, but then I just realized why didn't I just bring up a picture of the calculator instead of trying to show you like a video of me trying to press the button in reverse. I could literally just show you a picture of the calculator. So first, let me bring it up. I'm going to see if I can find one in better resolution. Just give me 1 second here. I guess this is the best one. Let me just see. There we go. Don't mind me, I'm just talking to myself, but what I'm trying to do, if you see my screen here, is trying to find a decent picture of the calculator, and they're all a little blurry. Let's try this one. Ooh, okay, that one's actually pretty good. This image here, this is actually a little bit different than the calculator I was showing you yesterday. I have an FX85ES. This is an FX85GT. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The buttons I was trying to show you guys yesterday, I'll just get my pen here, are the fraction button, this guy, and this guy. Now, you guys did Math 1700, or this isn't your first math course, so I'm sure you guys know this anyways. But those are the two buttons. One will turn, or one will create fractions. The other will go from a fraction to a decimal. So anyway, so those are the buttons I was trying to show you yesterday. All right, so back to the notes here. What about changing percents to decimals? Well, I mean, we could do in 2 seconds, but basically you would have to use, or you would want to use, your calculator for this. Well, no, actually, I guess you could also just move the decimal place. But that gets a little bit harder when you look at something like question 3 or question 4. Question 1 and 2 are actually quite simple. To change from a percent to a decimal, you divide by 100. Now, that's the same as moving your decimal place 2 places to the left. So something like number 1 here actually becomes quite simple. Let me change my color of my pen. Hold on, guys. Sorry, I'm a little disorganized here today because, I gotta share, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? My class went like crazy long, so I'm a little, there we go, disorganized. Here, this is what I wanted. Okay. Thank you for whoever just said that on the microphone. I had a feeling I wasn't sharing the right screen. So converting a percent to a decimal, move it 2 places to the left, or just divide it by 100 on your calculator. So pretty straightforward. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this. 66% would be decimal 66. Okay, what I did was I took this invisible decimal place on the left and moved it back 2 places. For number 2, be a little careful. I would move the decimal 2 places to the left, but what that would leave me with is this number, decimal 005. Okay, pretty straightforward, but then it can be a little trickier for something like number 3. Number 4, number 5, number 6, or whatever. What you would probably want to do for these is just use your calculator. Meaning I would put in 1/5. Okay. So on my calculator, 1/5. Then I would divide that by 100. Whoops. Okay, so this is the same thing as saying 1 over 500, but this is asking me to write it as a decimal. So I would just press my decimal button on my calculator. Now, actually, this is something that's really interesting. My Casio calculator, guys, is saying this: 2 times 10 to the negative 3. Now, any of you guys who know me from chemistry know that I like scientific notation. I think this is a fine answer. However, typically in math, maybe, well, you guys can write whatever you want. I'm your teacher. I would never mark you wrong for using scientific notation. But this is the same thing as saying 0.002. Again, up to you if you wanted to write scientific notation or not. All right, let me do one more, and then maybe I'll just get you guys to do a couple practice, and then we'll move on. I know this is pretty simple stuff. For number 5, I'm gonna like skip 4 and 6. I'll let you guys do that. Number 5 is actually pretty interesting because 26 and 2/3. There's a few ways we could do this. We could write it as an improper fraction first. If you guys remember me showing you that yesterday. So 3 times 26, which I need a calculator to do, is 78 plus 2. So changing this to an improper fraction. Sorry, guys. Oops. Okay, so this would be the equivalent of 80 over 3. Now, this is a percent. So I would just divide this by 1,000 on my calculator, or 1,000 divided by 100. Okay, so this ends up being 80 over 300, which I can reduce and just write as a decimal. Guys, I'm just using my calculator here, by the way. So this would be 0.26, then, or actually, sorry, not 7, 6 repeated. So like my calculator here is saying decimal 2666666, and it goes on and on and on. Then it ends with a 7. So this is 0.26 repeated. So there you go. So why don't you guys just take a second, try 4 and 6. If you don't have a calculator, I recommend you get one soon, definitely before your test. You can borrow it from a friend, if you know somebody in engineering or whatever, medical science, but definitely get a calculator. All right, so try 4 and 6. I'll be back in a minute. Oh, somebody in the chat there just asked me to explain number 2. I can explain number 2 in a minute. I'll give you guys some time to try 4 and 6, and then I can go back and explain 2. Okay, sorry, I didn't see that in the chat there. All right, cool. So I'm getting lots of answers in the chat there. Well, not lots, but I guess some answers. All right, so let's see. All right, sorry, I just wanted to check something out. Oh, I know what I can do. There we go. Okay, so before I do number 4 and number 6, somebody just mentioned for me to explain number 2 again. Really what you're doing is when you drop the percent sign, you divide it by 100. So all I'm really doing is just dividing 0.5 divided by 100. Now, your calculator, if you do this on your, like I didn't use a calculator. I moved the decimal 2 places to the left. If you did this on a calculator, like the Casio, the calculator itself might say something like this, which is again scientific notation, which is fine. As you guys know, as a sciencey type of person, I totally accept scientific notation. So it's up to you if you want to give me the decimal or the scientific notation. And I know that the question says convert the percent to a decimal, but I'm totally fine with scientific notation. Okay, so for number 4, I have 7 over 8. Okay, and again, I'm just going to divide that by 100. Now, what this means is I can change this to, I guess I don't need to do an arrow there. I can change this to 7 over 800. That's changing that decimal to a fraction first would be a good step, but you can again just do all of this on your calculator. So 7 divided by 8, hit equals, divide that by 100, hit equals, and then change it to a decimal. Now again, I get scientific notation, but you can just write it as decimal 0.875. Now, is that what you guys got in the chat there? I feel like I was seeing something different. No. All right, cool. Now, some of you, like Calcium in the chat there, said 8.75 times 10 to the negative 3, which is also perfect. Again, that's just scientific notation. Okay, what about number 6? Number 6, a little bit harder. What you could do first is change it to an improper fraction and then divide it by 100. So remember, we were doing that yesterday. I would multiply the 133 by 3 and then add 1. So when I change that to an improper fraction, I would get 399 plus 1. So this is 400 over 3%. Again, what I did was I multiplied 3 by 133 and added 1. You can also do this on your calculator, so whatever you guys are comfortable with. Now, that's not the answer. Yes?
Number 4, there is something wrong.
Oh, what's wrong with number 4?
0.00.
Oh, I left out a 0. Sorry about that. Yep. I certainly did. Thank you for letting me know. Guys, all I did when I did number 8, I was doing it in my head. I forgot a 0. This is what your calculator said. So either one is fine. But yeah, I left a 0 right there out. Sorry. Okay, so number 6, 400 over 3%. So this would be 400 over 300, right? Without the percent. And then I could reduce that. This is the same as 4 over 3. You guys don't need to show me any of this. All I need is that answer as a decimal. So this would be 1.3 repeated. 1.3 repeated. Remember, guys, when you have a repeated number, instead of writing, like my calculator here is saying 1.3333333, the way we avoid writing all of that down in math is by putting a bar over it. So 1.3, I think it's called in an over bar or something. Anyways, the bar over the top means it's repeated. All right, let's look at a couple more. I know this is a bit boring, but it's here. And it is actually pretty important because, again, as medical professionals, you do deal with certainly percents and small numbers. You can think of like milligrams of pharmaceuticals, or small percentages. Say of like someone's body weight, for example, you might have to calculate what percentage of medicine to give them based on their BSA, body surface area. So you'll look at some of this, or you'll see some of this, I think, in real life. Hold on, I'm hearing a spooky noise. Hold on one second. All right, no ghosts, but I heard something in my kitchen, but it must just be like water or something dripping. Anyways, so changing decimals or fractions to percents. This you guys should kind of know how to do based on your time at the college. And what I mean is, if I gave you back like a chemistry lab or a chemistry test and you had like 12 over 15. Ideally, and I've known students who can't do this, but ideally, you guys would know how to calculate what that mark is on your test, for example. Okay, either way, I'm going to show you. It's very, very easy. To reverse the previous process, you do the opposite operation. So what you do is you take a decimal or fraction, turn it into, or make sure it's in its decimal form. So if you have a fraction like, say, number 5 or number 6, first things first is change it to a decimal. Then, instead of dividing it by 100, we're going to multiply it by 100. So pretty straightforward process. What we will do is move the decimal 2 places to the right. And again, guys, you can do this on your calculators. The only thing I've noticed, like, students might get confused sometimes, is whether or not to divide or multiply. So when I'm getting rid of a percent, I divide by 100. When I'm converting to percent, I'm going to multiply by 100. All right, you gotta kind of memorize that, and then everything else is pretty easy. So like number 1, incredibly easy. Again, you don't really need a calculator. I'm just going to move the decimal 2 places to the right, or 350. And I put my percent sign in there. I'm going to zoom in here, because if I was going to do number 2, I move my decimal 1, 2. So this would be 2.25%. And again, if you don't know what I'm doing, I'm literally just multiplying these by 100. I'm just kind of doing it in my head just because it's kind of, I hate saying things are easy, but what I mean is multiplying by 10 or 100 or 1,000 is the reason why the metric system is so awesome, because you can just do it in your head. You just move the decimal. Okay, I'll just do one more, and then I'll give you guys a minute or two to practice. The only difference with number 5 and 6 is, in order to do this first, you need to change it into a decimal. So like, look at number 6 here. I think this is going to give me a weird decimal, but let's see. So on my calculator, I just do 7 over 6. Yeah, I did get a weird fraction, but that's okay. Or a weird decimal, sorry. What my calculator is saying is 1.666666667. So I'm just going to write it like 1.16 repeated. Okay, now I haven't done anything yet. I've just written this as a decimal. I need to change it into a percent, so I'm going to multiply it by 100. And what I would get is 116%. Or if you want to keep another decimal place, I could do this, It's kind of hard. You kind of want to see what I'm doing on my calculator. Because again, if you do this on the calculator, you'll see what I mean about the repeating sixes. Just try it on your calculator. You can do it on your phone if you don't have a calculator. Actually, this would probably be easier on your phone because it wouldn't give you a fraction. So you would just say 7 divided by 6. Your phone would say 1.166666. Then I would multiply that by 100. And I get 116.6 repeated percent. All right, I'll give you guys a minute or two. Try these. And then we'll probably look at one more topic or so. I don't even know what's coming up next. What's coming up next? Let's see. Oh, okay, percentage problem. We will definitely do one more topic after this because I would love to introduce this percentage problem. But anyways, we'll worry about that in a few minutes. Why don't you guys try some of these other ones? All right, I'll be back in a minute. Let me know if you have any questions. Oh yeah, cool. So Calcium has given me all three answers there to number 3, 4, and 5. This is pretty easy. I'll just give you guys another minute to try them. Ibrahim giving me some answers there as well. Perfect. Just take one more minute, and then I'm kind of excited for what I'm going to do next because it's actually more like what we've seen in the course before. It's like normal math kind of instead of this. So just take one more minute. We'll look at the answers, and then there's one thing extra I want to do. Okay, nice. All right, so Asma's given me some answers in the chat there. See if you can get number 5, and then you're that's pretty good. Again, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Like this is like I hope this is easy for some of you. Maybe it's very boring for some of you, which is also fine. Anyways, yeah, okay. I don't know what happened there. There we go. Okay, so let's look at the answers here. Okay, so number 3 and number 4 are quite easy because what you do, or what you can do, is move the decimal 2 places to the right. So again, guys, I'm just multiplying by 100. That's it. So this would be 1, 2. So this would be 0.05. If I make a mistake, let me know. I think that's right. 3 would be 300. That one's pretty easy, right? 3 times 100, 300. Now, number 5, I wouldn't be able to do without a calculator. And you know, again, this might be actually easier on like your iPhone or Android or whatever type of phone you have, because it won't force you to get a decimal. When I do this on my calculator, it actually just tells me the fraction. It says that it's 9/200. But if I press the SD button, I end up getting 0.045. Then I would multiply it by 100. 1, 2. Oops. You get the idea. It would be 4.5. Oh, guys, I'm missing something very important from all of these. Don't forget, because it's a percent, you need to actually put the percent sign there. Very, very important. That's kind of like in chemistry when I wanted you guys to write a unit like gram or moles or whatever. Percent is definitely very important here. All right, cool. Let's do one more thing and then halas. We'll take it pretty easy this week. We're doing really good in this course. We're making good progress. So let's look at one more topic. I don't know why this is scrolling so slow, but anyways. So, okay, what do we do? Where do we go from here? Well, we look at percentage word problems. There are 3 types of percentage problems you can be given, or well, that we're going to look at in this course. You might have to find the percentage of a given number. So you could say, like, I don't know, 3% of everyone in Qatar. Well, actually, I was gonna like do something about like where they're from, but actually, maybe a better one would be like 80% of people over 70 in Qatar have been vaccinated, or well, have had the COVID vaccine, anyways. So that would be finding the percentage of a given number. Um, Another one is you could find the percentage when given 2 numbers. This is one you should all be familiar with. Guys, I'm just reading these bullet points here, by the way, these right here. What I mean is, like, if I gave you a test back or an assignment back and it said that you got like 6 out of 8 or 9 out of 10, what would the percentage be? Very easy. And then there's like the hardest type, finding the original number. So it could be like 15% of what number is 100, something like that. So what we do for each of these types of questions is convert the words and numbers into a mathematical equation. This is something I kind of wish I knew when I was in school. Maybe my teacher tried to teach me. I wasn't that good at math when I was really young. I got a little better at it when I hit my middle teens, but this is something that I kind of wish that I did when I was given percent problems back, I don't know, when I was 10, 13, 14. I can't remember how old I was. But take the question, convert the words and the numbers into an equation. And I know that might sound hard or counterproductive. Some of you guys might think equations are scary, but it really turns percentage problems into something that's more manageable. One thing to keep in mind, well, it says 2 things to keep in mind, but just words. Is in English means, or in a math question means equals, and of is often used to indicate multiplication. Sorry, so if you see the word is, it would be equals, and the word of would typically be multiplication. So let's look at it. Type number 1, finding the percentage of a given number. To find the percentage of a given number, change the percent to a decimal, and then just multiply, and that's it. So this was like the first example I gave you, where I said, like 80% of or 60% of people over 50 in Qatar have received their vaccination. How do we find out that number? So in practice number 4, it's asking me, like, what is 80% of 400? Number 2, what is 25% of 32? So what I'm going to do, and these aren't even like full questions, because number 1 could say, what is, so x equals 80% of 400. So x equals 80% times 400. Of means multiply. So I want to multiply, I don't know why I just wrote a 0 there, but 80%, I want to multiply that by 400. Here's the thing though. we do not use percents. Sorry, my brain. We do not use percents in calculations ever. We never did it in chemistry. You're not going to do it here. Again, if any of you guys can remember using like percent concentration, for example, in chemistry 1120. We don't use percents. So to find the percentage of a given number, change the percent to a decimal, then just multiply. So I'm going to divide this by 100. I would get 0.80 times 400. And I'm going to do that on my calculator, although I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward number. Yeah, 320. So 80% of 400 is 320. That makes sense. If you had 400 people and 80% of them say were males, then you would have 320 males. Or you had 400 students, 80% of them were vaccinated. That would be 320. Okay, what about 25% of 32? Well, that just means 25% multiplied by 32. But again, we don't like using percents in our calculations. So we change our percent to a decimal. So 0.25 times 32 gives me 8. That's a nice number. All right, let me check the chat and see how everybody's doing with this. Oh, Calzoon, thank you for that answer. That helped for sure. Now, you guys got some trickier ones down here, but actually, I mean, there's really no difference. Why don't you try 3 and 4? You can certainly try 5 if you want. Just remember, change it to a decimal. Get rid of that percent sign if you're going to try number 5 or 6. So why don't you try, definitely try 3 and 4. And if you want, you can try 5. And we'll look at the answers, and then that'll probably be it for today. So I'll be back in, I don't know, 2 minutes. All right, let me check the chat here, see what people are saying. Oh yeah, I'm getting lots of answers here from everybody. I was curious about number 5, and everybody did good on that. All right, cool. This isn't really too bad. It's kind of strange because the end of chapter 2, or I mean most of chapter 2, was a little bit challenging. This is a good kind of refreshing chapter because this isn't too bad. So let's look at this. Number 3, 5% of 1200. So I'm going to divide that by 100 and turn it into a decimal, and then multiply it by 1200. Look at number 4. I'm going to change this into a decimal. So divide it by 100 and multiply it by 64. Pretty easy. This will get a little more challenging, by the way, because we're going to introduce some word problems into this and some pharmacy. We're going to apply this to some pharmaceutical type, medical questions. So it will get a little more challenging than this. So number 3, decimal 05 times 1200, I get 60. I keep hearing like a weird sound in my kitchen and it's freaking me out. But there's nothing in there. Anyways. All right. Don't know, but it's a new sound in this place. All right. Anyways, number 4, 2.75 times 64, 176. Okay, easy. Now, number 5, for anybody confused with number 5, it's really not that bad. Or, once you know what to do, change that. There's a few ways you can do this. I mean, honestly, if you have a Casio calculator, you can just put this in, divide it by 100. It'll give you the answer. But another way to do this is to change this into an improper fraction, then we'll change it into a decimal. You guys can do whatever you want, like completely up to you. But if you're curious, 2 1/4 changed into an improper fraction is 9/4. You do not need to do this. Okay. Then when I have 9/4, I can change that into a decimal. So that would be 2.25% times 365. Again, guys, you do not need to show me all this work. Don't worry. Then I'm going to divide that by 100 and multiply. So I would finally get 0.0225 times 3650. And yeah, that's it. Oh, I'm missing a 0. Whoops. All right. So times 3650, 0. And I would get 821. This is what all you guys were getting in the chat too. 0.25. Perfect. Easy. Nothing to it. Okay. I don't know why this is scrolling so slow, but anyways, let's save type 2 and type 3 for another time. We do have class really early tomorrow, but on Wednesday, we can take some time and do some review. Instead of doing something new on Wednesday, we can have like a little tutorial or class, practice class. So let's leave it at that. I know this was a pretty short class today. I do apologize for starting late. It was my 7:30 class went very long and I just needed to take a little break. But yeah, that's it. All right, guys. So if you have any questions, let me know. Other than that, have a fantastic day. Perfect. Thank you too, Samara. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Stay safe out there. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.